Welcome to Peppershock Media's Marketing Expedition podcast, keeping you up to date with the latest in marketing and advertising.
Welcome to the Marketing Expedition podcast. I'm your host, Ray Allen. I'm the president and CEO of Peppershock Media and the founder of the Marketing Expedition community. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. And today we're in the studio. I have with us our coworkers, my business partner and husband, and also Brian. And we are talking about video production. That's Brian. Hi, Brian. For those of you watching the video. So one thing we want to talk about is video production and things that you can think about when you want to produce a video. If you've never done it before, or maybe there's some tips, things that we can cover that we will give you in thinking about what you can do to prepare. Proper planning prevents poor performance and profit. So, Drew, let's start with you. Just give us a background on who you are and what you do and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm Drew. I'm the other half of her, and I'm the COO. I kind of oversee everything operational. And my background's video production. Met Ray working in TV here in Idaho, and went to school for video production up in Seattle. Came back, started Peppershock.
And we met Brian working in TV too.
We met Brian too, working in TV at Channel 12.
Yeah.
Share about yourself, Brian.
Yeah, my name is Brian, and my background is video production. Been doing it around 20 years now. And like you guys said, I met you guys at Channel 12. I was working as a studio crew.
Fox 12,
Fox
News at
12,
9.
yeah.
It's about time.
Yeah, station doesn't even exist anymore.
No, I know. It's completely leveled, too. You drive by and it's just a pile of dirt.
Yeah. But that's where I got my start, and had a couple gigs in video production everywhere from the pre-production, production, post-production. Have my toes in a little bit of everything.
And you've traveled the world.
Yeah. I spent 4 years working on cruise ships in the broadcast department, doing video editing, and just soaking up the sun and enjoying that too. But yeah.
That's awesome. And so, Drew, we've been at this now since 2003. So for those of you listening, any time past that's like almost 20 years, right? In doing this. And so when we first started, it was, the two of us kind of moonlighting and you were working at Channel 6 as a commercial producer. Mm-hmm. And then we started getting more calls for Peppershock than we did for our own jobs that we were working at the time.
Yeah.
And we've kind of really just grown since and added people to the crew and all of that. So we've got lots of good things to talk about as far as when you're planning to do videos. And there's a number of different types of videos that you can do. But let's talk a little bit about just some experiences that we've had in the years of doing this and what comes to mind. Like what's some favorite moments or some favorite, shoots that we've been on or things that we've experienced before?
Well, like when we're starting a project, we always ask, like this morning we had a call with a client and we asked like, how is it going to be used? Who's the intended audience? Because you can do quickie little cell phone videos if it's just a message that you need to get out to the world and it's, going to live on social media for a day and then
on TikTok
and be gone. Or, is this something where you're trying to, raise funds for an organization and you really need it to be polished and well thought out. And so I try to get people to think about what is the purpose, and then from there we can figure out the style, the length, is this voiceover? Is this just a music video? Do we do interviews and B-roll? Is it all motion graphics? So what's its purpose, and then we'll figure out.
Yeah, why are we doing it?
What's the video's why?
And Brian, what are some questions that come to mind when you first start working with somebody? What are things that you want them to tell you that maybe they can think about in planning videos?
Going back to, what's the why? What's the purpose for it? But I'm also really interested in the storytelling aspect of it. What's the story that needs to be told? And, what are the points that we need to hit and stuff? So a lot of that comes out when we're doing interviews, videos like that where, there needs to be a narrative that needs to be pulled out of all that rough footage and stuff. And, what is that story? And so that would be something that I would ask a client right off the bat.
Right, whether it needs to be a candid interview or it's scripted and using a teleprompter and, very canned, if you will. And there's just different things to think about when you are going to be interviewed. Yep. What are some things that we usually tell people if they're going to be on camera?
First of all, your wardrobe is going to be important. We don't like little tiny stripes or logos or anything that needs to be blurred out later on, right? Make sure you look presentable. We usually provide a little bit of makeup and some hair, just in case, in our last looks.
Yeah, we provide them with hair. No,
just
doing their hair, make sure
their hair
it looks
out there,
good, and
make sure no tweakers are
right. Yeah, no,
right?
no. Yes, indeed. And I usually tell people, like, if they have the choice between contacts or glasses, which I don't, I have to wear glasses, but choose contacts because then there's no glare, and then, like you said, like the small tiny print, sometimes it blurs and it's a little bit harder to see, and then sometimes I'll tell people to bring a change of wardrobe just so that way we have some options. And I really am glad that we do that because sometimes the camera lights will, kind of it'll wash somebody out with a specific color that they're not intending. And so then when they get on camera, they see that, oh, that's a really awful color. Like, mustard yellow is not good for me on camera, but maybe in the real world it is. Or, if you're going to be with a white background, what do you wear? Like, should you wear white?
No. That's an important thing too. Like, where are we shooting these interviews? Are we in studio? What do you want? The white cyc wall? Do you want a black background? Or are we using a green screen? And if we're using that, we're going to need to have more lighting than normal to key out that green and to make sure it doesn't bleed through in the hair and stuff. So, I mean, these are all questions that we definitely.
People always ask, why chroma key green, Drew? What do you tell them?
Because you don't have green in your skin tone.
Yeah. And most people don't wear that god-awful color of green either.
Well, yeah. But the science behind it is that when the computer goes and looks for, okay, pull this color out of the footage, odds are you don't have
used
kind
to
of
be
a lime
blue.
green.
Used to be
yeah,
blue.
you could do blue, but
people have blue eyes.
And
Yep.
then it's like ghost effect kind of thing. Yep. Like Zoom now, when you have backgrounds and it's like sometimes you can have that ghosting effect where people, are kind of, it's pretty amazing what they can do with Zoom and chroma key and key out everything. But green screens are better to have and with like proper lighting and, and if you are shooting and you have to do it yourself and then you hand us over the footage, what are some pointers that people could use? Because this has happened a lot more, especially now with social distancing in mind and people in quarantine or whatever the case might be. We still need to do video, but what are some pointers that you can give to people who have to maybe shoot it on their cell phone?
So as somebody that does, pre-production, production, post-production, I always learned that when you're shooting video, shoot like an editor. Just assume that you're going to be the one that's going to be editing it, whether you are or not, but shoot like an editor. So, get the shots that you know that you're going to need later down the line. And a lot of that's, just knowing some basic camera stuff, shoot wide. If you're going to shoot something, shoot it wide, medium, tight. That way you have different options. There's the 4-point quadrant on your camera, the rule of threes. There's all sorts of different little tidbits that if you're shooting right in the footage, you're not going to have to spend more time in the editing to fix it and stuff. So I would just say when you're shooting, make sure, proper headroom, depending on what you're going for, do you want the person looking at the camera or looking a little bit off the right? Proper framing. Yeah.
Don't have it down below, but have it eye level so that we're not shooting up your nose.
Yeah. I mean, and ideally, if somebody is going to bring us footage that we're editing, we'd like to probably talk to them beforehand and, tell them, shoot it at, 60 frames per second and an S-log and
16 by 9, more rectangle style as opposed to up and down.
Well, that's a sin right there. Do not shoot. If you're shooting video, do not do it in portrait mode. Do it in landscape mode. Use the full frame.
That means
Please.
turn your phone sideways.
But we would just, it's better to shoot it right than it is to try to fix it in post. So
That's right. That's right. Spend the time, plan ahead, do what you can to make it right. And even if you have to prop up your phone with books or, whatever the case might be. Phone books, that's a good use for phone books, right?
yeah.
We just got a phone book in the mail. I'm like, what am I going to do with this? Really? This is my phone book. It's my phone. Yeah, and other things too, like lighting, right? Thinking about if you don't have lights, what do? You
might try to shoot outside, make sure the sun's not in your face. You can create your own lighting kit with just probably what you have in your house. If you're going to need something in your front, you're going to need a key light onto your other side and something in your back.
Right.
So that way you can get some backlighting. You're going to want something, so basically that's what's called a 3-point lighting. So you're going to have your front, you're going to have your key, and then you're going to have your backlight.
Right.
And that's going to basically get all the shadows off your face and then give you a nice little shine in the back. So, you should be able to do that even at home without a lighting kit.
Unless you're trying to go incognito and you don't want anyone to see your face, don't shoot up against a window, right?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, maybe that's what they're going for, but ideally you want to have the window in front of you, not behind you, because the sunlight coming in will just cast dark shadows, right?
You will lose against the sun anytime. The sun will outshine you, so.
Right, and perfect shooting time is the golden hour, right?
Yeah, when they say, that's the hour before and the hour, was it right after sunrise and the hour right before sunset. Those are some really good times for lighting. Yep.
Especially if you have to go outside and, you've got that golden tone that's coming from the sun, and it's just if it's a little bit overcast, that's okay. You don't want it so super bright that it's just, like you said, shining down on you and making these bright spots. An overcast day is actually good for shooting.
Yeah, it's excellent.
It's natural.
Nice, even lighting.
Yeah, it's a natural filter.
Yeah.
So Drew, tell us a little bit about the different types of videos that we do that people can think about that they need for if they're trying to build their brand, or if they're wanting to, be an influencer, or if they want, to sell their product or service, or what kind of videos are there? There's several, right? Let's talk about the maybe 5 different videos that a company should have.
Yeah. I think an overview video that just kind of short and sweet, maybe it's a minute long, maybe 2 minutes, that talks about, who you are, what you do, kind of just the basics, because people would much rather watch a video than read text on a website or social media.
Although they will read the subtitles. Right?
Right.
And so we make it audio agnostic and put subtitles on it so that way people can still understand what's going on, even though they're not hearing it.
When they're sitting in a meeting and they're supposed to be paying attention, but they're really watching a video on mute and on their phone. Yeah.
Or laying in bed with their phone up or whatever.
There's that too. Just like a high level, this is who we are, what we do, this is the product, the service, these are our people, blah, blah, blah. And then I think another good video, a series of videos is just updates, for social media. The quick and easy, these are the ones I was talking about, you can shoot them on your phone, might need a little bit of editing, but for the most part, it's a message from a employee or the CEO or somebody saying, this is what we're up to, this is how we're, and obviously in COVID land, this is how we're keeping people safe, or this is how, this is how we've modified doing our business. So it's more informational, but just getting info out through video.
Sometimes even doing little tips of, did you know, or how to, or, not necessarily giving away the farm, but at least giving people ideas of things that they could do. And then, of course, if they need help, then they can call you to purchase your product or service or whatever it is. So,
right.
Yeah.
It's a good way to showcase like a company culture, you know, a little slice of life of what's going on in the office this week, you know, just you know, quick videos you can post in socials. So.
Yeah, and people will watch videos more than they'll read text, like you said.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, what else?
And then, you know, things that are a little more commercial, you know, maybe they are a little more polished, higher end, you know, because you're really trying to highlight your product or service. That's probably where you would end up calling us.
And scripting it out and planning it. And
yeah, because that's the, like the keystone, that's the big piece of marketing, you know, advertising, and it needs to be well done and
thought-provoking and
Right.
make an emotion. Maybe it's persuasive messaging. Maybe it's something that you're wanting to inform or educate, or I like to say edutainment.
Yeah.
You know, make it educational but entertaining, right? So that way it's memorable and people will share it, forward it, or you know, think of it later, and it's something that you can use, that you could put it on all the different social media platforms and LinkedIn and on your website, and if you wanted to put it on television, you could. And there's lots of ways to do that now, right?
Yeah.
Like Hulu and
OTT.
oh yeah, over the top ads.
That's
yeah,
what it's called.
over the top.
I thought we were talking about the Sylvester Stallone movie.
Yeah, right?
Wow.
Yeah, no, and so thinking about really with the end in mind, right? What are you going to use that commercial for? And how is it going to get out there? It's one thing to make a beautiful commercial, to spend all the time and energy and effort to plan it, and, you know, get the right wardrobe and get the right location and the actors and all of that, right? But if no one sees it, doesn't matter. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So yeah, commercials are definitely useful in being able to do that, and even a series of them, or making them, you know, you can make 60-second commercials and put them on Instagram, or you can put, you know, even 90 minutes, or you can even do an infomercial if you wanted to. But the idea behind the commercial is just that, to advertise what you do and how you do it in a way that people can easily absorb it, understand it, and see it multiple times, because we know that people have to see messages 11 to 13 times in order to even acknowledge that they've seen your brand or heard it. So that's just another good way to get it out there and make sure that people can see it and that you're getting it in front of the right people.
You can bookmark or bookend commercial breaks, right?
Yeah. So
Two
explain that.
15, you know, maybe instead of doing one 30-second commercial, you have two 15-second ones, and one starts at the beginning of the commercial break and one plays at the very end. So it kind of bookends it and keeps whatever the message is in mind to the audience.
I used to run Master Control before I was directing news back in the day, and oftentimes those bookend commercials would get annoying because you would hear just a little bit of it, and then you would, you know, go through the commercials, all the other commercials, and then you'd see it again,
And then
like,
come in at the very end. Yeah.
and some of them had jingles, right?
Yeah. When the jingle fairy comes to town,
Oh my gosh,
it's bad.
Oh man. Some jingles are doozies, but you remember them. And then they get stuck, and then you sing them over and over in your head. I already have one in my head. I'm not going to sing it because then I'll get it stuck in your head.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what else? We've talked about overview videos, kind of just company update videos, commercials. What else?
I think something that, I mean, a lot of businesses have started doing this, and obviously just a lot of individuals, but starting a channel where you do provide value and educate people. So it's a YouTube channel that sets you up as the expert. And yes, 8,000 other people might know and have done the same thing as you, but
It's on the delivery, right?
Yeah, it's how you deliver it. It's building that audience. It's authentic. It's probably something that you can produce yourself. You know, obviously we could set up here in the studio and do educational YouTube videos for you.
Right.
They would look and sound great and, you know, look a little more polished, but, you know, it's definitely something that you can do yourself as long as you're, you know, training somebody on something, providing value that they can, you know, learn to do something themselves. So, you know, if you're a restaurant, teach people some of your recipes, you know, or
Totally.
what, you know, because odds are, you know, yes, you're giving them that information. Odds are that, you know, 10,000 people aren't going to go out and start making it themselves and never come to your restaurant again. You know, it's more about creating a connection with people, you know, showing what you know, showing that you're the expert, and building your brand, building trust.
Yeah, there was a bartender showing us how to make special drinks. Obviously, we'll go back to the bar someday when we can, when we're not in quarantine. But him showing those videos, the ingredients, sending them out there, and you could order the ingredients and everything that you needed, and then he would show you the video of how to put it all together, and then you could enjoy it. And he would also enjoy a drink with us, even though he was on camera on the video, right? I mean, obviously, it wasn't communicating with us, but it could be if it was a live streaming video, right? Which is another one, a live stream. What's the importance of live streaming?
There's some sense of urgency for the audience to watch it. I mean, it's live right now, and you want to be a part of that. So, it's a good way to promote.
Yeah, and now a lot of different platforms are doing the live streaming. So Facebook, obviously, they reward you when you go live. They want people to see you and show it, and they'll showcase it more so than other things in the feed that you have. LinkedIn, you can go live no longer than 10 minutes, though, I found out the hard way. And then, of course, on Instagram and, TikTok, all of those things, we can do these videos now that even if you're doing them yourself, you can still get them out there and then do things to help promote them and boost them and engage with them and get them out there for the world to see. What else? What other kind of videos can we do? We can do some animated videos.
I mean, there's infographic videos, stuff that are more animation heavy, with maybe a minimal voiceover or something like that. But animation, infographic videos tend to do pretty well, especially on like social platforms and stuff.
It attracts people to watch them because there's movement.
Yeah, and it's a good way to get maybe your message is a little too geeky or scientific. Well, a lot of analytics or something, and it's hard to get it out in a sentence and stuff. Well, you can show it visually with graphs and in other elements. That's a good way to get that type of information out and make it palatable. Make it something that somebody wants to watch. So.
We did some videos like that. It was medical science for health sciences division, part of Oracle. And it was very technical, very, and they're trying to sell this software to people who aren't necessarily the ones that would use the software because they're the decision makers that aren't the ones using it every day. And so the idea behind it was that we needed to, like you said, make it understand so you can understand what it is that is being said. So everything was visual and with animation and motion and words that were coming on the screen. And really it was just as a part of a presentation overall, as a kind of a tool that they could use while they were presenting about it. And then they can answer questions and those types of things. But presentation videos are, aids to help along the way and be able to give that presentation in a nice, concise and, visually stimulating way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and when we can have trade shows again, that's what a lot of those Oracle videos we produced were for. Is they're audio agnostic, so basic clean graphics with text on screen, so that if somebody's walking by your booth, you want to catch their attention, and then what's this? And I can they can stand back a little ways without having to come into your booth and kind of get an idea of what it is that you do or you're selling or whatever, without being without having to hear it in a loud convention center.
Some other things that I've seen recently, just in this, pandemic era that we're in, to keep people engaged on, Zoom calls or GoToMeetings or whatever people use, to use video where people would play a clip and then you had to guess what show that was from, or like what episode, or the name of that show. Kind of name this tune, but it was name that show, and then people would win prizes. So you can use video to engage people. You can use it for various different types of things for presentation and just getting the point across, especially when you can't necessarily go to an event or go to a conference, but maybe you can send a video production crew out to go shoot the video that otherwise people would be seeing if they were at that event, or if they need some B-roll, showing imagery of what they're talking about while they're presenting. So then you can send somebody safely, in the production truck to go shoot some video and then come back and then allow, the world that was supposed to be at some event see in a different way. and again, being able to aid and tell that story and showcase the imagery that they otherwise would miss out on. Yeah. And we've been doing that too, like thinking about how to do video production in a, safe and socially distanced, environment, right? And so lots of things have been happening. What are some things that we kind of have done differently since COVID-19 kind of took over the world?
Well, we have a client we're working with right now that, before we go in, we need to do a survey, a health survey. They do, the temperature gun on your head. Everyone masks, and keep your 6 feet distance. So there's a lot of that going on right now. Usually, a lot of the times it would just be me and Drew on a smaller crew and stuff, and so it'd be easier for us to follow those protocols and stuff. But
yeah, and we've sanitized everything as much as we can and as often as we can, and we'll wear masks, and maybe instead of a lav mic, we'll use a boom pole and go high up above, so then people aren't spraying their juices on the on a microphone. So lots of different little things, and we're mobile, so we go to other places that maybe others can't go because it's a restriction on how many people can be there, and we've done a lot of virtual events now, utilizing the gear that we have and switching between presentations and between cameras, and being able to bring people from all over into one screen, right?
Right. Yeah. We didn't even really mention what we're doing today.
Yeah.
We have kind of an elaborate setup for a podcast or a video here, but we basically built our own kind of mini studio. We have 3 cameras here and a GoPro up there. We're all mic'd up, and then everything's running into the switcher, and I'm jumping from Ray to Brian to me.
It all
Ray,
goes back
to Brian to Ray to me.
Channel 12.
That's right, because we switched.
Working the switchboard at Channel 12,
Yeah. But this is something I just kind of wanted to, mention it, that this is definitely something that if people are interested, we could set up, a multi-camera show.
Yeah.
If somebody wanted to come into the studio and do something similar.
Many podcasts have the visual element as well, and they have video, as well as just an audio version. So,
yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of options. And going back to what we were talking about, shoots, production right now in COVID, it's possible. I mean, people are doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're back to production. I mean, you can do it safe.
Yes. Yes, we can. And we have gloves, we have all the gear, we have the masks, we have, the sanitizer, and it can be distanced as much as possible. And we completely understand. We will wear masks and, make everybody safe and feel safe as much as possible. And if we can't do it in the studio, we have other ways to do it. We can use Zoom, we can use any of those other tools. And we've done that before where, we talked a couple of interviews through and making sure that it was all set up just right, and eye level and audio and and making sure they looked good, and the background and the noise, and making sure that sounded good, and just giving people some tips and ideas of what they can do to make those events, and all the streaming that we can go on, and Ustream and YouTube and Facebook Live, and recording it all, and then replays, and we've done webinars, and we can charge for webinars and replays too. Yeah, let's see what else. Any other types of ideas of videos that we know that people need, to be in business in this next year in 2021. If you don't have a video strategy, it's definitely something you need to consider. But is there anything else that we didn't cover as far as videos that we can kind of share or give ideas for that people would use in their business or on their profiles, or if they're promoting a brand or a nonprofit or a cause or what have you, whatever it is that anybody needs video for, right? I guess we didn't cover training videos, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of those where we help. I always say branding happens from the inside out. And so training your people and doing kind of culture videos and, kind of saying, this is how we do things. This is the Peppershock way, or this is the company way, or your company kind of thing. We did some training videos that were pretty fun with one of our clients, right? We had them in the studio. We kind of set the stage with ferns and, explain what we did there.
Oh,
Yeah, they wanted to do a different type of training video where it wasn't just some dry, this is what you need to do, blah blah blah. They were fans of the Between Two Ferns videos that were on Zach Galifianakis videos that are on YouTube. So we set up our studio to look like the set with two ferns and the black background, make it look like a kind of a cheesy studio setup, and that's how they did their interviews. So it was just a kind of a fun way to do a dry style of training video. So
Right. And everybody needs to be trained, right?
Yeah.
You need professional development. You gotta, have a process that needs to get out. So sometimes edutainment is more memorable.
yeah, that was edutainment there, right? And we've done other more traditional training videos. I think one was with Albertsons, which is a grocery store. So it was hired some actors to play employees and did, acted out situations in the grocery store.
There were sexual harassment training videos.
Yeah.
We'd have people sign a waiver saying this is just a reenactment.
Yeah. That's when it's tough to be the actor, right? You don't want to be, I'm just acting, I promise.
Yes. No, but that's a good case in point, because you can utilize this as a tool to help with your culture and help, train situations and scenarios and events and things that you can do to get your message across, but have it kind of somewhat pre-planned so that way you've got the message dialed in as to what you want it to be. And then, of course, editing always helps.
Yeah, that's the magic there.
That's right. Good. Yeah, I think, we've covered quite a bit, and I'm sure there's other videos that people are doing and TikTok videos, and people will say, Ray, I want you to make me a viral video. But I want to tell people that I cannot make you a viral video. We can make you a video.
Yeah.
And then we can do things. Yeah, we can do things to help accelerate the viralability of it. It's a hard word to say. But I cannot make you a viral video. The whole purpose is that it becomes viral, right? You can create videos, you can make them, educational or entertaining, or, have that wow factor, or that, the things that make things go viral, right? And so you can do all of that, and you can plan as much as you want, but there's nothing that's going to say that it's going to become viral. Now, there are things to do to plant the seed and to organically, share and grow. But in some circumstances, you have to pay to play in order to get people to see the videos. And we do a lot of that. Drew, why don't you talk a little bit about video marketing and how we get these wonderful videos out there in the world that we do?
Well, we mentioned it a little bit about, kind of coming up with a strategy and a plan, come up with a calendar for the year and know your big key, either seasons or products, or, launch a new product or whatever, have a plan. And then, the social media videos, there's native ads, there's over the top OTT on digital streaming, there's YouTube, there's traditional TV. It really comes down to where's your audience, what media do they consume, are they on Facebook? Maybe not. If they're in their 20s, they're probably not on Facebook. They're on Instagram and TikTok, and now you can do ads for TikTok. And so knowing your audience, who are you trying to market to, who do you want to have see this video, and then where are those people? How can I reach them? And what's my budget? TV is expensive, and but it reaches a lot of people in a certain demographic. And in some areas of the country, it's still really prevalent. There are a lot of people watching TV. Other parts of the country, not so much. So it's just, there's so many variables. I think the biggest piece of advice is don't just go willy-nilly, or don't just throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. You're just kind of burning through your money that way.
First of all, you have to pick the right wall. Second of all,
you
have to also, like you said, figure out what your target audience is and how they're going to be reached. And then they adapt over time. New technologies, new platforms, new things come up, and you have to stay on top of what is the next thing that your audience is going to want or see or need from you. And with COVID, right, things have changed exponentially. Now everybody's on digital, right? Double down on digital. And so what can you do to capitalize on that and leverage your digital space and make sure that the ads that you're placing, you're tracking them and you get an ROI on them and you see, what your KPIs are, right? Kept promise indicators.
Oh.
Yeah. Key performance indicators, but kept promises, right? What are those kept promises that you want to do? And then pivot, right? That's a word of 2020, right? Top 10 words of 2020. Pivot when something's not working, and then, reevaluate and then put money towards the things that are working. And we've done this before too. Like we did 2 videos and they were exactly the same, but we had different metadata and different titles on YouTube for them because YouTube obviously is owned by Google. And when we tested both of them, we identified which video actually performed better with the titles and the metadata that we were utilizing on the backside of the video, and then the one that won out, that's the one we spent the money on.
Right.
And then you could do another iteration again and just keep going until you could get really good. And what happens is because YouTube is owned by Google, when you have videos on YouTube, then when you search in Google, sometimes those videos will pop up in the Google search, not just the YouTube search, but the Google search. They usually do. And they're an image biome, and so people click on them because they're videos. And so playing around with how you can utilize, SEO and all of those types of things is super helpful. And now the advent of Google Nest, where you can see the videos. Now what's more important too is voice search engine optimization. And so if you're asking Google or, whatever tablet or whatever you're using to, voice command and say, show me, this video or show me this or that or the other, it'll play those videos. So now, not only are we thinking about mobile, we're thinking about now voice as well. So artificial intelligence. Yeah.
AI voice search.
Voice search is a big deal.
Thing you have to pay attention to and optimize for.
Yep. Well, and because, now that we can command our TVs, our smart TVs, and I can tell Google to turn on my living room TV and to play certain things on my TV, it's all connected, right? Everything's all connected. All of the Internet of Things are all connected.
Right.
And so thinking about, okay, what are the 11 to 13 ways that I need to reach my target audience so that I know that they're even acknowledging that they've even heard about my brand. And video absolutely is definitely something that you need to put into your strategy for this next year and probably in perpetuity. But
video is here to stay.
It is, definitely.
It's been around a long time.
I heard it killed the radio star.
That's what I heard.
Oh, now that song's going to be in my head.
There you go.
Forget the jingle. Now it's the video killed the radio star. Okay, so any final thoughts on just educating and sharing maybe some words of wisdom or just things that we do that we like to tell our clients in thinking about video production and tips and tricks and things that we can help share?
Like I said earlier, if you're planning on shooting your own video, shoot like an editor. Whether you're editing it or not, just go into it. Make it easy for yourself, go with it with the ideas of what shots do you want and what are you going to use. Have some basics of composition and framing in mind. You always want to have, some headroom, make sure your subject's not looking off on the other end. Basic lighting, that's going to help you all at the end.
One thing I always tell people, and you just said it, that's what reminded me of it. If you say, well, like I just said, or as I was saying before, or, well, as I mentioned, you know what? You may not have mentioned that if we edit that out.
If we edit that out, right?
But if you find yourself saying it, it's okay. Just leave a little pregnant pause, as we call it, and then carry forward, so people have to stop and start again. Then just leave a little time in frame. The other thing that also made me think of that I talk about is if you are the person interviewing somebody, the hardest thing that I had to learn was to shut up when just letting the person on camera speak and not hearing my voice, because usually my voice will get cut out if I'm interviewing them, and not saying, oh, that's interesting, right? You can't say anything. You have to be quiet. And so sometimes when we work with people who are fresh at interviewing other people, that's one thing we always have to do is cut their voice out, because it's like, that's not necessary, right? And we're trying to have people say their sentence as a standalone sentence. So sometimes reiterating the question within their answer is usually another thing I tell people. So that way my voice gets cut out when I'm interviewing, right? Anyway, sorry, I cut out. I had to jump in and say, as you just said.
Don't worry, I'll cut all this out.
I know.
No, just joking.
That's the luxury of being an editor. And that's
Yeah.
what I tell people too. Like, if we're not live, and sometimes people get anxious in front of camera. And I think that, trying to just make them comfortable and at ease, and, take a deep breath before you start. And, all of those things are really important as well. And I think that that's, definitely something that you want to do. And then the other thing too is like have water around if you need it, or, tissues, whatever, just so that way you can feel like you're at ease and you can, get the job done and say what you got to say, right?
Totally.
Yeah. What else, Drew? What are some other kind of final thoughts on video production? And, if you're looking to do something, we didn't really talk about pricing. Those are all definitely things that are variables in all of the consideration. But what are some things that, we have to take into consideration when we're looking at estimating, the cost of a video?
There's a million variables.
So true.
There's so many things that go into it. Yeah, that might be a whole nother podcast episode.
I know.
To talk about.
But there are things that change the variables, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to hire a production company, there are things that you might think through ahead of time, because they're going to ask you anyways, and this is all going to affect the price. But, are you writing the script, or is the production company? How involved on the pre-production before you ever even turn a camera on are you wanting to be, versus, no, I'd rather really have the, I'm hiring the production company for their ideas, their scripting, the, finding the right talent, all of it. I want help with all of it. So you might consider that. And then on the production side of things, are we shooting any footage, or is this all motion graphics? If it's all graphics, do the graphics already exist, or do we need to create do we need to have our design team in-house do that? Because that'll affect the price. And if we're shooting, can we get it scheduled to where it's all back to back to back, and we're not, going out shooting one interview and then come back, and then go out the next day and shoot another interview and come back. If we can line it all up and knock it all out in a day, is there travel involved? Do we need to have an overnighter? Is it, every little thing just keeps adding on.
Catering and
to that budget.
Hair and makeup artist, or, one of each, or a wardrobe, consideration.
Yeah.
Lots of different things to consider too. And like you said, location, that's important, because if you can do something on one location, sometimes you don't always shoot in the order of the script, right? But you can shoot in order of what makes sense, and putting together the shot list, and how, the order of what we want to do to make it the most efficient. So that way your budget isn't tied up in trying to make decisions on the spot,
right? But
your decisions have already been pre-built, with the understanding and the caveat that sometimes new discoveries or things change, and you have to kind of roll with the punches, right? I mean, I remember showing up to a location and the door was locked and there was nobody to open the door, and we stood around for an hour waiting for somebody to come and open the door. It was to no fault of ours, but the client, created this issue. And you know what? That's time that we're all spending, that I can't go out and do another production, or I can't go out and do anything else besides sitting there waiting. Yeah. And unfortunately we got to charge for that, because we're not utilizing our crew and they're just sitting there, right?
But so that does not happen often, because we are prepared,
planning ahead,
and we planned ahead, and we made sure.
Yeah, no, that doesn't happen anymore.
No.
What's it like? Hit me once and shame on you. Do it again. No,
only once.
Yeah, no, only once.
Yeah.
Anyway, So yeah, those are all different things to consider, and like how many people are on the crew, how many, if we need an audio operator, if we need a teleprompter operator, if we need, lighting and additional lighting, like, if we have a green screen and we need to do that, or if we're, out with a big truck, a production truck, and needing to do outdoor lighting. It's just a lot of different things to consider. And if we're putting neutral density, what's that called, film on windows, so that way it looks nighttime even though it's not.
Outdoor light.
Yep.
Lots of things.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. And like in some circumstances, we've had it where we've had big productions where we've had to have, like a mobile RV acting as our, trailer for, first aid, for talent, for whatever the case might be. And security, we've had to have that. And we've had to hire security before because of the talent. And guides, like people who are familiar with the area, and in one case we hired pilots and helicopters and all kinds of fun stuff. But it really can, be a production can go anywhere from maybe a couple $1,000s to a couple $20,000 to $50,000 to $150,000. It really does depend on what millions of dollars.
How big is your idea and how far do you want it to go?
That's right. Yep. And can you get it funded? But yeah, I think all of those factors are important to consider when you're wanting to put it together. But anyway, any other final thoughts?
I just think you should do videos, whether you hire us to do it or you do it yourself. It's a pretty important part of how business is done and how communication happens. And, I believe in it. I think it works.
Absolutely. Any other final thoughts, Brian?
Ditto. It's not going anywhere. And, they're fun to do. At the very least, you're going to have a fun time if you make one. So
absolutely. Yeah. All right, and I'm just going to put in a shameless plug for our Marketing Expedition community. If you want to have more videos to watch or some trainings on how to build your brand and your bottom line, go to themarketingexpedition.com. And there's all kinds of good information there for you. And like Brian said and Drew said, if you are interested in video production and need to explore your ideas, we will be happy to do a 15-minute call with you, and you can go to peppershock.com/book-ray or peppershock.com/book-drew, and we'd be happy to meet with you virtually to start and just see and explore with you what we can do. With that said, thank you guys for sharing your knowledge and expertise with us. And without further ado,
thank you.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to review, rank, recommend, share, all of the things for us, because that helps us get our message out in the world. And we really appreciate you listening to our podcast and video.
Wouldn't it be great if there was one place you can go to get all the latest information and tips about marketing and advertising? The Marketing Expedition community is that place. People like you gather in our online community to build relationships with others and find the latest marketing trends, tactics, tools, and technology. We help you build your brand and your bottom line. Start your adventure today. Visit themarketingexpedition.com to find out more.